Regardless of political leanings, it was a relief for all of us to see Boris finally agree to step down last week. Seemingly he did his best and worked tirelessly, but no one could seriously argue that he did a good job as Prime Minister or that he conducted himself with any honour. It's been unedifying to witness the mainstream media and his own party trying to bring him down for months, but he gave them plenty of ammunition, and there's nothing surprising or new about this kind of takedown, is there? It's just another manifestation of that dreadful British disease, building people up to knock them down, putting people in a position of power only to ruin and humiliate them. In the well-established socialist tradition, it's not enough to see a Tory Prime Minister step down. They have to be shamed and cussed out of Downing Street, abused and denigrated. For the proud socialists on the BBC, Channel 4, in The Guardian and on the bot-ridden hard-left spam factory that is Twitter, it's been like feeding time at the zoo. This week we've seen people who consistently claim to hold the moral high ground drop the pretense and let the world see the full force of their seething rage, their appalling spite. The rabid cultural Marxists who can't keep off our TV screens or out of our newspapers are falling over themselves to castigate the British public for electing Boris Johnson. But what choice did any of us have? What was the other option? Jeremy Corbyn. None of us were willing to walk into that burning building, were we? Because we knew that under Corbyn, this country would very rapidly disintegrate into a failed state. As untrustworthy and incompetent as Boris seemed, he didn't represent the same kind of existential threat as Corbyn. He was the least worst option. Watching the monstrous behaviour of those on the left last week reminded me of Thatcher's death in 2013, when thousands of this country's morally upstanding leftists lined the streets picketing her funeral, shouting Tory scum at a dead woman in a coffin in front of her grieving husband, children and grandchildren, singing Ding Dong the Witch is Dead, holding street parties to mock a dead old woman and her family, completely intoxicated by their sense of self-righteousness. Thatcher dragged this country out of a deep recession into prosperity, creating entrepreneurial opportunities for anyone with the initiative to take advantage of them. In the new country she created, some individuals and communities needed to adapt to survive, and they couldn't. They weren't capable of it. They failed, and they blamed their own shortcomings on her, and that left-wing hatred has poisoned this country ever since. This is a country where rather than try and improve themselves, people would rather focus their energies on trying to denigrate anyone who's had enough grit and determination to make a success of their lives. Aggressively attacking anyone who's tried to fit in and make a contribution to society. It's these people and their refusal to take personal responsibility for their own lives that drag the rest of us down and sabotage our political institutions whilst corrupting our cultural ones. We know who these people are. They're in our universities, in our schools, on our televisions, on our Twitter feed, in our council buildings. And the antidote to their poison is to speak up, to challenge their warped agenda, because that's the one thing they can't stand, the one thing they try to shut down at all costs. Free speech. But you have it, so use it.